So hello everyone, I'm ButteryGreg and I'm here with game number 4 of the Esports Central Clan War League qualifier match between Team Legion and Decerto. And Decerto currently leads the series 3-0 with Matty in a really strong position. You know, we could see an all-kill here. I kind of hope not because I'm a Team Legion fan, but I can put on my sort of the word's escaping me. I can put on my unbiased hat for the moment and say it'd be kind of cool to see an all-kill, you know. But so, here we go, we're in game number 4, and let me introduce the players. We've got Team Legion's Avilo spawning as the green Terran in the bottom right, and because we're playing on MLG Antiga Shipyards, we've got Matty as the purple Terran spawning in the cross position, top left. This is the first TVT we've seen this evening, and TVT is always a thrilling matchup. People used to hate on TVT a lot. I'm sure you guys remember MLG from like a year ago. Everyone would be like, oh god, it's another TVT, it's going to be like an hour and a half long, and they're going to mine out the whole map. And that kind of still has the opportunity to happen, but I think TVT is really cool because it doesn't have the same problems that ZVZ and PvP do, but it's still a mirror matchup. And mirror matchups are interesting because it comes down very, very heavily to strategy and execution. Like, you know, there's still strategy in all the other matchups, of course, but when you're playing the same race, like, you have the same pieces. This is the closest that the game is going to get to chess. You have exactly the same pieces, and it comes down to all of the choices you make. There's no chance of like, oh, well, I have Colossus, and they're just, you know, they're just better than your army, so I win for free, right? Like, that doesn't happen in TVT. If he gets siege tanks and you only have Marines and you lose, it's because he made a strategic decision that put him ahead. It's not because his race just had an advantage of some kind, right? So I think it's really cool because the way Terran works with mules and with Marines is, and like medevacs and stuff, and siege tanks, of course, like siege tanks are huge in TVT, is that you don't have the same problem where if you lose a couple of units early game, you end up at a massive disadvantage. Like in PvP, you know, I always tell people like, well, if you lose your first 2 units, you're going to lose the game because he's going to 4-gate you, and he's going to have a 2-unit advantage, you know, and like 6 stalkers versus 4 stalkers, you're going to lose, right? And same in like ZVZ, you know, you stop paying attention for a second, and there's like one baneling that sneaks in, and you die. But here in TVT, you know, you can lose a couple Marines early, you can lose a couple of SCVs, and your opponent's going to have trouble killing you. So the game is going to progress forward almost no matter what. There's obviously some all-ins that are going to work, but we can get to that macro strategic stage where we see players multitasking, and I think it's going to be really exciting. That said, we see Matty opening with this 2-Rex opener, just like last time, or just like in 3 of his games tonight. It's very aggressive, but he's got this SCV here, so he might be saving up for an expansion in a moment, and that would be really cool. I don't normally see a 2-Rax Castles expand, it's normally 1-Rax, but this gives him a lot more Marines at the expense of a slightly later command center. He's up over 400, there goes the command center, so here we are. At the same time, Avilo decided to go for a 1 barracks fast expand. He's got his bunker at his ramp, so, you know, this is another reason that TVT is more likely to progress into the mid-game, because you have strong defensive capabilities as Terran. This bunker can handle an attack from more than 3 Marines and survive, which means that even so Avilo is going to get an advantage from having expansion, from having made an expansion earlier, because he'll just have more economy, right? And Matty didn't really jump ahead in tech, so he's going to have a lot of strong units, and Avilo's going to have to worry about that pretty soon. But Avilo's going to have his factory here. He's actually going to be going Hellions. This is really cool. First time I saw Hellions in TVT was a build that QXC did, and I thought it was really, really cool, so I'm always excited to see Hellions. But we're, you know, so as we move forward, it's actually going to work out really well for Avilo. I just kind of now started thinking about this. Matty's got all Marines. Avilo's going to be pumping out double Hellions, and Hellions do a lot of extra damage to light units. So Avilo's build, I think, puts him in a very strong strategic position, because he's almost guaranteed to make it to the mid-game. By opting for lots of economy and lots of tech, he's actually got, he's got a very versatile position moving into the mid-game. He's going to be safe, he's got some Hellions now, so he's going to be able to start harassing, he's going to have the technologic advantage over his opponent, and he's going to have a slight economic lead as well. Whereas Matty, he expanded slightly later, so he's a little bit behind on economy, of course. He's got a lot of barracks, though, so he's going to have a lot of strong ground units. He's not going to have very much tech to back this up, and if Avilo starts getting siege tanks out soon and really turtles up, then Matty's going to be at a significant, like, legitimate strategic disadvantage. But here we go, we've got his first 4 Hellions moving up, and Matty's got his Marauders positioned very well on top of the ramp. He's going to force a retreat from Avilo. At the same time, his Marines are going to move up into the main, and this serves 2 purposes. 1, these Marines are not exposed to Hellions. 2, a very common follow-up when you scout an early Hellion attack is that your opponent's going to go for Banshees afterwards. And we see that Avilo's actually going for a drop, but in any case, it's going to be an airplay. And so moving these Marines into the main gives him a very good opportunity to defend against this drop. And this medevac. Excellent reaction time from Avilo right there, spotting it right as it crosses over the Marine vision. But here we see that Matty, he's behind on tech, but just through good positioning and having powerful units, he's managed to deflect Avilo's aggression for the moment. And we see that Avilo, he started making some siege tanks. He's got siege tech on the way, and he's just going to go for a 3rd base. His response to this is, you've got a lot of strong units, but my static defense is more than powerful enough to keep me alive. You don't have a factory or a starport, so you can't engage me in the air, which means that I'm going to be safe taking a 3rd base. I just siege up some tanks, make some bunkers, and I'm going to be relatively safe against most of your attacks. So he's going to try to extend his economic advantage by taking this 3rd base. I'm going to verify that he's got an econ advantage. Yeah, he's got a huge worker advantage right now. And that's primarily due to taking his base earlier. So he's finally managed to squeeze these Hellions in here. He's not doing a lot of damage though, so he's forced to pick up and retreat. He did do some damage to one of those Marines, but these Marauders are excellent for denying Hellion harass. At the same time, we see a Banshee move in, but Matty has finished Stim, and a little bit of miscontrol by Avilo there, and the Banshee gets sniped. At the same time, this 3rd orbital is almost done, so Avilo's grand economic plan is continuing to move forward. He's actually still behind in the food count, but as the game moves forward, we'll see that this is going to even out because Avilo has so much more income. Really, the main reason he's behind right now is because he doesn't have very much production, whereas Matty has a lot. Like, Avilo's spending all of his money. I can pull up the spending tab. Holy shit, nobody ever looks at this. We see that Avilo has spent more money on both tech and econ. He's actually spent more money on army as well because he's getting more expensive army units. But until he gets his production up, he's going to be behind in the food count. So he's got some extra factories now. Where does barracks go? Oh, he's floating his barracks over here as a scout. That's cool. He just doesn't. He's not. So it looks like he's going to be going for a relatively modern Terran style. Someone's probably going to make fun of me for this, but I think it's a modern style, sort of the Sky Mech approach to playing TVT. We're going to see, a lot of Banshees, a lot of siege tanks, Hellions, probably some Thors at some point. But you don't want to get Thors too early because they're expensive and bulky, and they're kind of a little bit more situational. At the same time, we see that Matty's going to begin taking his 3rd base. Again, he's a little bit behind on this. However, Avilo's 3rd is actually still like sort of in his natural, so he hasn't physically taken this 3rd. And I think that would be pretty important because he wants to get this 3rd gas. And when you're going for a Sky Mech style, all of these units cost gas. Siege tanks, they cost 125. Yeah, I have to check it on the tag. I knew it was around 100. Whatever, close enough. Siege tanks cost gas. Air units cost gas, right? So it's going to be in Avilo's best interest because he's going for these heavy air units, or heavy tech units, to get that 3rd up for the gas, especially, very soon. Meanwhile, back over here in Matty's base, we see he's up to 6 barracks. He's making 3 more, of course. He's got his reactor starport up, so he's pretty much evened up in tech. He is a little bit behind on... no, wait, sorry, this is 2nd engineering bay. Okay, he's got his upgrades going. He's got +1 done. He's got +1 armor on the way, adding a 2nd engineering bay. And so at this point, the tech decisions are kind of starting to even out, which is interesting, because we're moving into the mid-game, and so both players, they've gotten to sort of the same position in very different ways. I mean, we see Avilo, of course, he's got Blue Flame, he's got a lot of Hellions, he is definitely going for that Sky Mech approach, but both players look similar. They have all 3 tech structures. Matty actually already has his armory. I believe Avilo more than likely also has an armory, but I just don't know where it is. There it is. So they have all the same tech structures, They just have, you know, and they actually have the same number of bases at this point. However, avilo is still not mining from his third. I think he really needs to move over there. He's been a little bit too cautious in setting up his third base. He could have been, I hesitate to call it more risky, but he could have just been a little bit more aggressive with this expansion, and his economy lead would have been a little bit better than it is. It's not too bad, but he's kind of falling behind. Matty's definitely catching up here. He's got his third base fully saturated. He's got both of his gas geysers going down. He's continuing to add barracks. Wow, Matty actually has a fourth command center, 4 orbital commands. That's huge, but here comes a little bit of a bio push. Very good decision. Throwing down the scan up front, he sees this large cluster of immobile but very powerful static defenses. He's going to go for these backdoor rocks. This is an excellent decision. Avilo just landed his command center. He needs to be careful, make sure his tanks are sieged up in time. Some big tank hits is going to force the retreat from Matty. Hellions chase, but he doesn't want to overextend himself because there are a lot of Marauders here, and like we noticed earlier, Marauders are very strong against Hellions. And Matty doing the smart whoa, high-sec auto-tracking. He's getting the upgrade. I gotta double-check what this does before I say something stupid and look like an idiot. High-sec auto-tracking, +1 range to auto-turrets, that's what I thought. Of course, it also affects planetary fortresses, so we could see the formerly known Great Wall of Trump come up on this map with a lot of planetary fortresses just cutting it in half. But anyway, what I wanted to get to was Matty behind that attack, doing the very smart thing and just taking a gold base. You know, it is going to be a little risky, a little difficult to defend if avilo scouts it, but if he doesn't see it, which he's going to see it, so Matty gets a little bit unlucky, and avilo does see that there's a gold going down here. He's going to know he can either take a fourth or he can apply some pressure to that, and hopefully he's going to choose to apply some pressure. There's no really convenient fourth for him. One of the challenges when playing a mech-focused build is that you are not very mobile. You have very strong static defenses, but they're very good in one place. And on a map like Antiga Shipyard, you can take 3 easy bases, and you can defend them with centrally located mech units. But you can't get that fourth very easily. Whereas with a bio build, you've got stim, your army has a lot more mobility to it, so he can afford to extend himself, take this gold, maybe take a fourth base over here, or over here. Really, they're kind of the same from his perspective. Holy shit, he's taking a gold on avilo's side. This is a ballsy move right here. I don't know if it's okay for me to cuss, I usually do. I hope you guys don't mind. But it's a very ballsy move on Matty's part to take avilo's gold base. And we see avilo's going to move out for a very big attack here. He's got a lot of mech units, he's got a lot of sky, you know, he's got a bunch of Vikings here, but they're really, the only air units are going to be these medevacs, and yeah, I didn't look at it there, but, you know, of course, avilo was able to force the cancel. One thing that's going to be very important for avilo moving forward is he's got this Raven and it has a lot of energy. Point defense drone only costs 100, so he can throw down 2 of them, and since Matty's going for bio, he's got Marines and Marauders. Marauders have a projectile missile attack, which means that point defense drone completely nullifies them. There go both of the PDDs. He's able to shut down the Marauders entirely, and he's going to be able to pick off the Marines with his Hellions. But he needs to be very careful not overextend himself. He's running too far away from his PDDs. He definitely wants to stay sieged up here and stay within sort of the protective cocoon. That's not the right word. Protective cocoon. I was halfway between womb and cocoon, and I got cocoon. He wants to stay in the protective cocoon of his PDD and his tank line. So he is able to apply pressure to this planetary fortress. He does outrange it, of course, but he needs to be careful. Matty is doing the very smart thing against this immobile mech army. He's calling down a nuclear missile. I don't think avilo noticed this. Oh my god. Avilo, I don't know if he didn't hear it because of the attack sounds. He didn't see it. This nuke's going to come down. He's going to lose all of his air units. It takes a ton of damage on his tanks, and this is absolutely the right response from Matty. Going against bio against Sky Mech, you need to use nukes to force your opponent to unsiege, because siege tanks are only good against bio when they're sieged. You know, splash damage just wastes bio because it tends to clump up. If you use nukes, you can at the minimum force him to unsiege and retreat. You know, and in the best case scenario, he doesn't notice it, just like happened there, and he's able to, and he loses a lot of units. Here comes a second nuke. Wow, avilo, he's unsieging some tanks, but he's not unsieging all of them. I don't know. That may have just been a tactical relocation and not a responsive nuke. He's going to lose. Yeah, he takes some damage on his tanks and loses some of his missile turrets. Avilo's going to need to get himself some more Ravens down here. He's going to need to start being very careful about this. I do like what he's done over here. We see that Matty is trying to set up his third base. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted earlier. So he set up some siege tanks on the high ground, but Matty is able to pick him off with a very well-placed scan. And this gold base has proven to be the focal point of the conflict. The bad thing is that Avilo is still on 4 bases behind this. He loses a lot of that. He's got a massive number of tanks. He's able to pick off a bunch of bio, but is it enough? He's finally going to cause this planetary fortress to go down. He's going to force a little bit of a retreat from Matty. He's got a food advantage, but Matty has a significant base advantage right now. Avilo's got a lot of income. He's got a lot of money stacked up, but this is primarily due to the gas discrepancy in his income. He, like I've said like 30 times, Sky Mech like this costs a lot of gas because tanks are 125, Vikings are I think 100. You know, so he needs extra bases purely for the gas income. Very nice Hellion run by here to harass. And this is going to be critical to stopping Matty, because Matty's going for the bio-focus build, which means that 3 bases of gas, while, you know, he would like more, is sufficient because he can make a lot of Marines, and Marines don't cost him gas. So instead he's going to be focused on getting a lot of minerals. Tanks siege up a little late, these Marauders are running forward. Massive, massive damage here happening. Avilo's taking a beating in his army, but looks like he's going to be able to clean up almost all of Matty's ground forces. And I think this was a big mistake on Matty's part. When he saw that tank line, he should have backed up. We see there's a huge food discrepancy at this point, and even more importantly, there's a huge money discrepancy. Second wave of units, absolutely 100% a mistake. They get cleaned up by these 5 tanks. And at this point, I think Avilo's in a very strong position. He needs to expand, because Matty, of course, he's been off and on 4 bases, but both players are going to begin mining their mains out. So at this point, the fact that Avilo has all this money banked up and that he has his food advantage puts him in a really great position. He's got more than half the map sort of cordoned off with his tanks. He needs to reinforce these, of course, to ensure this, because if Matty went for a big bust, he could definitely break through this, but he's got a soft hold on more than half the map. And in TVT, when you have more than half the map, and you guys just both play it out with the expansions and sort of the standard approach to things, it means you're going to have more money, which means you'll have more units, and in the long run, you'll be able to outlast your opponent. But again, we see that the sort of immobility of Biomech is kind of limiting Avilo's ability to respond to this. Holy shit, how did he set up a gold and a planetary fortress without me noticing? I was way too distracted talking about strategy. Avilo getting a little aggressive here with this command center. I think just taking the gold should have been enough. He should have been pretty happy with that. But he does have all this bio cornered, and he's just going to do massive damage. Ooh, he loses the command center. He didn't need to do that. Day 9, of course, would point out the hairdryer here. He did not need to lose that command center. He could have lifted it off, and against mostly Marauders, he would have been fine. It's really cool here. This is probably actually really annoying as far as Matty's concerned, but Avilo's got these missile turrets going up all across the map, and this really helps him with his map control. Just provides vision everywhere, provides sort of an annoyance for Matty because he has to go around killing these things. And at this point, the tables have really turned. Avilo, he's got this gold up, he's got it saturated. Look at this, he called down 8 mules, I believe, earlier. They're almost dead, but that's an insane amount of money for him to go mine in this rich mineral patch. And, you know, he's got this base up over here, but it is definitely going to go down to this little bio wall. He's going to lift this time, he's going to try to retreat. This is mostly a Marauder force, so he might not be able to clean this up, but he's going to be able to do a lot of damage. He's actually not even going to try to focus, he's just going to retreat when he gets. It's a good call, because while mech is low in mobility, it's not 100% immobile. So Avilo is, of course, going to want to come up over here, line up, set up the tank contain, and pick off these Marauders as they retreat. Looks like he's not even going to see these tanks. Given the timing, that's not a bad decision, although he could have done a lot more damage if this decision in the first place. It's okay, though. So, this is where I kind of think TVT gets a little bit awkward. Sort of the resilience of the race makes it difficult for either player to commit to like victory at this point. I mean, Avilo has an advantage. You know, if we can look at the stats, we're like, well, he's got a lot more supply, but a lot of it is tied up in Vikings. He's got 12 Vikings, which is 24 supply of Vikings. And, you know, they don't really attack anything. They pick off medevacs, but other than that, it's not that much. So really what we're going to see avilo do is he's going to set up more planetary fortresses, because remember, he's got that high-sec auto-tracking, which increases his planetary fortresses attack. Let's check. I may have missed this upgrade. He did not get the structure armor. He's going to want this upgrade. If he's going to be going for a Great Wall of planetary fortresses, he's going to want that structure armor upgrade. But he's definitely moving into the starvation phase of the game. He's got a ton of money banked up, he's got a bunch of expansions, and he's got control over more than half the map. So at this point, he can slowly constrict his opponent, and eventually he's going to make it to the third base, which is the primary mining base at this point, and he's going to be able to clean up. Also, he's not even going to siege his tanks, he's just going to move in. And this is acceptable, although not ideal, just because he has such an overwhelming number of tanks. I'm sure he'll siege up when it comes time to destroying this, just because it'll be a little bit faster. There we go. And of course this orbital did stay alive. Some nice tank defenses back here. And I think at this point, we're going to see a GG out of Matty pretty soon here. Because I don't think there is not a miraculous SCV pool that can save this situation. Tanks just do way too much damage to Bio. So there we go, we see the GG from Matty. Avilo's going to take it, and he's going to bring the series to 3-1 and keep Team Legion alive. So we're going to see who Avilo goes up in the next game. Who goes up against, sorry. I just lose words sometimes.